This week on The Insiders, a demand for loyalty. Hear the governor's answer on whether she would refuse to campaign for members of her own party who do not support her school voucher plan. Plus, pushing the unemployed to find a job sooner and possibly for a smaller paycheck. We'll listen to one advocate who helps people find better careers and how she thinks these new changes could create some new problems. Plus, the contest to replace Iowa's only Democrat in Congress. We will look ahead to our debate.
From your local election headquarters, this is The Insiders with Dave Price.
That session in Des Moines just keeps on going. It's been 2 years now, but the governor has not been able to get the Republican-led legislature to pass her school voucher plan. Now, some think that this would hurt public schools by diverting tens of millions of dollars of tax dollars to help students switch over to private schools. Others say the plan's not really relevant since smaller communities may not have private schools nearby. Well, the Senate has passed the governor's plan, the House has not. And this disagreement has all but shut down the legislative session and kept most lawmakers out of the State House last week instead of finishing up their work. So how much pressure is the governor putting on the reluctant Republicans? Well, here's how she answered about whether she would refuse to campaign for them if they oppose her plan.
I'm out there advocating for a priority of mine, and this is a priority of mine. And so I have a lot of legislators and a lot of candidates that want me to do fundraisers for them. And so it's a matter of scheduling them. I'm also, have a job that I have to do, and I have a family that we meet with. And so I'm willing to do as many as I can. I'm just limited. And so I'm going to, of course, look for candidates that support some of the priorities that I do. And I don't think that that's unreasonable, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. When I go to a fundraiser, I'm going to be continuing to sell why I believe this is important.
So we will watch where that goes. Now, State House Republicans did agree to reduce the unemployment benefits in the future, and their push to try to ease the worker shortage in our state this way leaves Iowans with among the fewest number of weeks in the country where they can receive unemployment benefits. Here's the data from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. I first saw this reported by Aaron Murphy of the Cedar Rapids Gazette. If you look all across the country, only 3 states now would provide fewer weeks so people can get benefits, those unemployment benefits. 12 in North Carolina, 12 in Florida, 14 in Alabama. Iowa would go down to 16 weeks. Now, the leader of an Iowa nonprofit that helps workers train and upskill says all these changes could end up hurting workers and employers.
I think that it will have people make choices based on being able to continue to receive benefits versus being able to find a career that they're going to be in. So I can foresee someone taking a job so they can continue to get benefits, and then at the same time looking to find a job that has more meaning to them, that has more relevance, that looks long term. Because what we know is most of the people that we're talking about know how to get jobs. Mm-hmm. They've had a job. I mean, the percentage of people that haven't had jobs is pretty small, right? So we know people know how to get jobs. And what we really work with at Project Iowa is how to stay in a job and how to grow in a job. So we want that loyalty, that growth, both for the employee and the employer. And we want longevity. We want people to go to places where they can stay. And we know that's best for them and the employer if there's growth opportunity there in placement. So I just think, to me, the bill kind of looks short-sighted. It's about trying to fill job openings that are out there right now. And how we look at it is more long-term. We want people to stay in a career in which they can grow and prosper and, have some longevity in it.
Now, the economy is one of the challenges for those running for Congress. Up next, we'll have some insight into our upcoming debate with 3 Republican challengers.